And underneath this, I would probably write of pyramids and cones. Of pyramids / cones. Anybody think they know what slant height might possibly be? Come on, there's got to be a cone in here somewhere. Please, cone. Cone. Time for this one.
Kristen, how do you drop something?
Oh, really?
No way.
That's humor like I've never heard before. Slant height of pyramids and cones, children. Kala.
That's exactly what I
Wow, nice. Here, sketch yourself a little, let's just do a little cone here. A little dash in here. See if you can kind of get the gist of this. First of all, we've got the base. Here's our base right here. The base is not always the bottom. Okay, but this would be, you can't really use this the whole loaf of bread theory, but when you talk about a cone, the base is always going to be the bottom circle. When we talk about the height, not the slant height, what is the height? When you talk about base and height, height is normally perpendicular to the base. And in this case it would be. If I asked you for the base of this, you would have to give me this straight up and down line right here that forms a right angle with the base. Okay, that would be the actual height. But when you're talking slant height is just like it says. It's really the height of the slanted part of the cone / pyramid. Okay, the slant height would be this height right here. Now, something you want to think about is anytime you're asked to give the slant height or try to figure out the slant height, you are always, well, most of the time, going to use, in your mind should pop up the words Pythagorean theorem. Because you are going to have to use that to find that slant height. And why is that? Because if you look here, if you look at what I've already got drawn here, you have a right triangle, and guess what the hypotenuse of that right triangle is? It is that slant height. So you have to think a little three-dimensionally. You have to think about slicing that thing and then thinking about the triangle that gets formed with the real height, the slant height, and whatever this half of the circumference is, which would actually be the radius at that point right there. So if I gave you something like this, if the radius, or I'm sorry, if the diameter of this shape, our diameter is 10 centimeters, and the height of this is 12 centimeters, what would the slant height be? And here was, I'm sure you're going to show your work and do all this out. You're going to have to sketch this, draw the little triangle. What does the triangle look like? Well, the Pythagorean theorem says a squared plus b squared equals c squared. The two legs form the right angle, so we know one is 12 centimeters. What's the other one? How far is it from here to here? Well, know that this is 10, that's the radius, so it's half of that, which is 5. And then you hope at this point that it's a triple. So you look over here, is there a 512? Yes, there is. So you know that C, without any other work, you know that C has to be 13. So the slant height, I believe, do they sometimes show with the letter L? Let me look and see. I look, but I don't know. I guess we'll just put SH. That doesn't show me there. Slant height equals 13. Isn't that relatively exciting? Let's do one more here. Let us say, let's do a pyramid this time. Right out of the book here. We have the book says this is a Find the slant. Sketch the right triangle to show the dimensions you are using for your calculations, but it doesn't say. How do you know this? Yeah, let's do it here. Put a little point up here. Sketch, sketch, sketch. There should be a dash line that I should use over here. Dash, 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 dash. This one can be dash, 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 dash. Sure, why not? Say your dimensions are this. Let's say this is 8. Wow. Say this is 8 centimeters, and this is 8 centimeters, and we'll go. This is 8 centimeters. What would the slant height be of that? Question mark. So at this point you have to figure out what is going to be my right triangle. So think about a dash line coming down here to the middle of this whole thing. Draw your line here. Here's your triangle, as best I can do. What are the dimensions of my right triangle? Well, you know the height is 8, because it's 8 here. What's this distance from here to here? Well, it's half, because it only goes, 8 is all the way, half is only 4 centimeters. And it always will be half of whatever the base is, even though mine is drawn a little goofy there. So your formula is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. What's a squared? Doesn't matter. 4 squared plus 8 squared equals c squared. 4 squared is, 8 squared is, 16 plus 64 is, yep, 80, thank you for that. C squared equals 80, what is C, Cameron?
Square root of 80.
Take the square root of both sides. Can I leave it as the square root of 80? Anybody? Why not? What is that? What does the square root of 80 break down into? It's just 2 times the square root of 40, 2 times the square root of 20, 2 times the square root of 10, 2 times the square root of 5. That becomes a normal 2. That becomes a normal 2, and then you've got the square root of 5. So 4 square roots of 5. Do I put plus or minus in front of that? Yes or no? Somebody tell me why. Logan? Because of what? Schwartz, why can't it be? Because what? Because it doesn't work out evenly? No, I think you're thinking too much. Ryan?
Because it's a line and you can't have a negative.
Yes, you can't have a negative distance. You're looking for this distance from here to here. There's no way it can be negative. You can't measure things at negative things, so it has to be 4 times the square root of 5. Which, if I asked you to guess how long that is, you would say what? What 2 whole numbers would that have to fall between? 2 times, or 4 times the square root of 5, boys and girls. Is between what 2 numbers? What column? 8 and 9? Why does it have to be between 8 and 9, Brooke? Square root of 5 has to be between 2 and 3, does it not? So your choices are 2 times 4, which is 8, and 3 times 4, which is 12, actually. That would be, I don't know if it would be 8 and 9. Can't be 8 and 9, can it? Could it be bigger than 9? What is that? What is the square root of 5? We should try and figure out what it is exactly. I know you're very interested in that. Square root of 5 is 2.23, which gives me what? Times what? Where's the time thing? Times 4? It's very close to 9. Which, Brooke's gonna say, but I said it had to be between 8 and 9, but I'm gonna tell you, you have to be careful with that logic. In this case, yes, but if it was the square root of 6, you would have told me the same thing, right? If I would have said between what two numbers is the square root of 6, would be 4 times the square root of 6, would you have also said between 8 and 9? And the same thing, what about the square root, 4 times the square root of 8? You'd have told me 8 and 9 again still, right? But I'm going to tell you, if I were to use the square root of 8, let's do that. 8 square rooted and multiply that by 4, you get 11. You know what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm going at? Say yes or no. Raise your hand if you understood what I just said. Okay, I didn't think so. I'm going to do it again for you. Look, we were talking about 4 times the square root of 5, right? Why, Brooke, did you say between 8 and 9? Oh, okay. You went back to the square root of 8. And then between that has to be between the square root of 8. I was looking at this and just saying, what if you weren't given the square root of 8 and you looked at this? I see where you're going, why actually that would be true. Okay. If you were just looking at this, and you were guessing, you'd have to say between 8 and 12 actually, because the square root of 5, if you're guessing what the square root of 5, if you know what the square root of 5 falls between, it falls between what, 2 and 3, right? And if you multiply 4 times 2, you get 8, and if you multiply 4 times 3, you get 12. So if you're using this as your base, you'd get between 8 and 12. If you went back to its original thing, yes, okay, that's what. All right, do I have an assignment for you? Are we good with slant height, do you think?